Hi, I'm Bill Crum from the Oklahoman and News OK. With me today is Renn. Aaron is in Oklahoma City giving one of the keynote addresses at the Mayor's Development Roundtable. He's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute and author of the Urbanophile, a blog that focuses on urban issues. And Aaron also is the author of a book of essays that are taken from the blog. It's called The Urban State of Mind. Welcome, Aaron. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Being with us. One of the things you talked about today at the Mayor's Development Roundtable is the need for cities to embrace what makes them unique. And you spoke a little bit about Oklahoma City and you mentioned our auto culture, if you want to put it that way. We're not a highly dense city. Tell us something about the need to embrace what makes you unique rather than to fit others' ideas of what your city should be.
Right. There's a lot that we can learn from other places. You know, we've had a lot of great ideas that may have come from elsewhere, like bike lanes that have come here, and I'm all in favor of doing a lot of the great things other cities are doing as well. But you have to think about what is the unique local character of this place, right? I think a lot of cities like Oklahoma City that were somewhat obscure and are now starting to come into their own can sometimes, you know, feel like they've got to leave behind the little kid stuff that they used to have. But so much of that is really the heart of who you are and were, and something that you can be proud of. Be the best Oklahoma city you can be, not kind of a poor man's imitation Portland, is what I like to say.
And I think you used the term unearth, or the word unearth, to find your unique culture and history as a city.
Right. Everybody kind of has an idea of New York, but what comes to mind? What's the culture, the brand of Oklahoma City? A lot of places struggle with questions of identity. You know, like Ohio, what's the identity of Ohio? Well, it's hard to even a person in Ohio couldn't tell you, but if you go to Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus, it's instantly apparent those are three radically different cities. And so I call it unearthed because it's a little bit like an urban archaeology or anthropology mission to really find out the unique character of this place, the thing that makes it different from any other city on earth. And then you infuse that into everything that you do to really make it your own.
And leverage that to make your city better. We know that Oklahoma City is focused quite a bit on development of downtown. You just had a question at the Mayor's Development Roundtable about the streetcar. New convention center is on the way, downtown park. You said from what you'd seen that you thought Oklahoma City was poised to leapfrog others in that regard. What did you mean by that?
Well, in some aspects, I think that's true. Project 180, for example, that's redoing all of downtown streets, that's been getting a lot of national attention, and deservedly so. A lot of places have talked about getting rid of one-way streets. You've actually done it. You know, a lot of places have talked about or done on select streets upgrades of their infrastructure. You're actually building a complete set of state-of-the-art complete streets for your downtown. I think that's something that most cities of your size are not going to have for a while, if ever. Excuse me, I'll flip my notes here. Another thing you said about Oklahoma City is that it's at an inflection point. And you spoke about cities who that perhaps their glory days are behind them. Oklahoma City's glory days, you said, are ahead of it. How should we think about that? And what should we expect as we grow here in Oklahoma City? If you think about a lot of the cities of the Midwest and the Northeast, a lot of the older cities, they're still some of the greatest cities in America. But they used to be much more prominent than they are today. So, for example, Cincinnati, which is one of my favorite cities, some phenomenal geography, neighborhoods, etc. Cincinnati used to be like the 6th biggest city in the United States. Right? They called it Porkopolis because it was the meatpacking capital of the country. It was a colossus that ruled the Midwest before Chicago came along. And obviously, it's not that today in America. It's not as big and prominent as it used to be when it was truly one of the most massive cities in the country. And that's true of most of these Midwestern and Northeast cities.
What's different about Oklahoma City is, although you've gone through boom and bust periods in the past, you have never been a larger, more important, and more influential city in America and the world than you are right now. So in a sense, you're still building the high point of what your city will be. And I think that's a very exciting thing to be a part of.
Well, in that journey, one of the things that we talk about quite a bit is attracting young, educated, well-educated millennials, I guess is the term, 20-somethings who have been to college, who are interested in transit, in an urban lifestyle, and so on and so forth. But you said that we should not be so narrow in our focus of who we would like to attract to our city. And that those who are in the age range 30 to 45, for instance, have something to offer. What could they do for our city as well?
Right. I certainly think every city needs to get its fair share of the urban millennial market, so I'm all in favor of that. But 20-somethings with college degrees is a pretty narrow segment of the marketplace. I mean, there are a lot more people in the world than that. So don't think so narrowly in terms of trying to attract that you kind of neglect this vast, large market that's out there of 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. And how can you create a community that has kind of full spectrum appeal? And while the millennials bring great qualities to the table, we live in a more diverse world and look at what other age brackets can bring to the table, right? Maybe people who are kind of mid-career, who've been living in bigger cities, can come back and bring that experience that they've had in a San Francisco, a New York, a Houston, back to Oklahoma City, and then make all of that available here. That's a different character of experience than being 23. So I think you need all of that. And so while, yes, get college-educated 20-somethings, don't forget about everybody else.
Don't neglect others. The folks who have been in the workforce for a while know something about the global economy, about participating in that and bringing their employers or their skills to bear in that context.
Right. We get more experienced after you've been working for 10 or 15 years. You've gained a lot of experiences. You're more seasoned. You have a tremendous array of business contacts, most likely. So you bring a set of experiences that someone who's 23 doesn't have. Now, someone who's 23 is bringing things that you don't have, right? They've got that youthful energy. They're probably more of the now in terms of where the world is going culturally and other ways, technologically. But you need all of that, right? You need an entire spectrum of people to have an effective company.
Well, I do like to talk about living in the now, especially as I, inhabit that older age group, and I see what young people can bring to the table. Last thing we'll talk about, and we appreciate your time with News OK today. MAPS is a financing model that builds projects in Oklahoma City on a pay-as-you-go basis. How's that an advantage for Oklahoma City as you look around the country at the way other cities are financing their growth in their future?
Most people are using some form of long-term debt for capital project financing or other types of debt structures. By paying cash, right, you've taken a time where you have been economically prosperous, where the markets have been with you, and you're buying the stuff with the money now and not running up all these debts. And if you read about bankruptcies and fiscal distress in cities all over the country because they didn't keep their eye on the balance sheet, they accumulated a lot of unfunded pensions, they racked up a lot of debts, and now they're in trouble. By paying cash up front, you're going to be leaving your children and grandchildren a legacy of great projects like parks and streets and schools, not a legacy of debt. And so I think that's very important for your city.
All right. Well, thanks very much to Aaron Renn, Senior Fellow at the Manhattan Institute and keynote speaker at the Mayor's Development Roundtable. My name is Bill Crum for the Oklahoman and News OK. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.